Wow, wow.
Hello.
Well,
Hi,
happy Sunday.
Yes.
hi, Mark. I'm Rhonda.
Hi, Rhonda.
I lead the group, and I just want to say thank you so much. We are so honored that you're willing to spend this time with us.
Oh my gosh, this is a highlight of what I do.
Matthew, come join us.
Come on, Matthew.
This is a highlight of what I do. Uh-oh, you guys are recording, so I have to be on my best.
We have a few girls that were very bummed that they weren't able to join us today. So I definitely was hoping to share it with them, and if you're okay with it, maybe we would share it more broadly as well.
I do not mind at all.
Wonderful. Thank you. So we did have, everybody, you're welcome to have a seat and get comfortable.
And you can see in the little picture in the corner if you're in the camera. I think everybody fits.
You know what? Let me just turn off the music. I don't
yeah.
need to do that. And
Okay. That's my box.
so the girls did think of questions, and the way that I framed it is I said, I explained that you're, well, you know what? Maybe what we could do is very briefly, everybody here can just say your name, and then you could just tell us real quick a little bit about who you are. And then most people had a chance to ask a question, and the way that I worded the question was, if you could ask somebody who is homeless any question, what would you want to know?
Wow. Do you, I don't know if you're open to this, but I could probably see if one of my homeless friends would like to join.
Oh. Well, is there somebody who, you know what, Mark, maybe just in the interest of time.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, it was just a thought.
Yeah, it's an awesome thought. I'm just thinking, well, my understanding is that you, for a period of your life, were homeless as well. Is that true?
Oh, yes.
So maybe you can just share what you know from your experience, or just because you've talked to so many people who've had other experiences, you could pass that on to us.
Yep, that's what I'm here for.
Wonderful. So why don't we just quickly go around and just say your name? Okay. Who would like to start? Why don't we start with Lauren and make our way around?
I'm Lauren.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Hey.
All right, nice and loud so Mark can hear.
Yeah, but me? Yeah. Wait.
Okay, so Lauren, let's do the front row first.
Thank you. I'm Brooke.
Hi, Brooke.
I'm Ruby.
Hi.
I'm Bella.
Hi.
I'm Gia.
Hi.
I'm Cece.
Hi. You guys all have wonderful names. I got stuck with Mark.
I'm Leela, and you've met me before.
I did.
Yeah.
You didn't have this thing going on, though. That's why I didn't recognize. I mean, they look adorable. We were in a different country together on boats and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm Zoe.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So nice.
My name means life.
Oh, wow.
You want to go? Okay. Just so you know, my son is over there as well. He may appear once in a while. His name is,
Okay.
yes.
My name means important later.
So Mark, why don't you just real briefly tell us whatever you can about yourself before we get into our questions?
Sure. I will be real brief, actually. Well, you guys, let's see if I can do this. Are you on a TV or a computer?
It's a monitor that's somewhere in between.
A monitor that's somewhere in between. So let me see if I can. Why is this not happening for me? Oh, there we go. So this might help. Can you see that?
There we go. You can see that. Yep.
Yeah.
So that was me homeless.
Whoa.
That was me 22 years ago. In fact, that was my pet iguana dog. I called him Dog.
I have a pet lizard too.
Do you? What's your pet lizard's name?
Olivia, she's a crested gecko.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Yeah, I miss, let me see if I can get back to out of the screen share here. Oh, you click on stop screen share. So I moved to Los Angeles to seek fame and fortune like most people do. And I think I got my big break because I am sober 22 years, which means I don't drink or use drugs, which is a very good thing. But I grew up making some bad choices in my life, and they all ended up to me living on the streets of Los Angeles. And I had a really good job. I had a great job in the television industry, and I still ended up homeless on Hollywood Boulevard. And then I rebuilt my life back to a 3-bedroom house and, success in a new car. And, life was doing good. And then in 2008, the economy got really bad, and I lost my job, and I'd get a job, and I'd lost the job. And then I lost my house, and I didn't hit homelessness a second time, but I grabbed the camera really to give myself purpose. I've always felt that the real experts are people that are still homeless. So often we hear from politicians or research professors or nonprofit executives. But I've always felt we need to hear from people that are still in some state of homelessness. So I grabbed the camera and started empowering people to share their own story. And I never thought it would go anywhere. But here, like YouTube gave me their homepage for a day. 1.6 million people who would have never talked to homeless people had in 24 hours had a positive interaction with homeless people. And I've traveled now to over 300 cities in 8 different countries, and I'm talking to all of you, which is awesome, which never would have happened. So homelessness was the worst thing in my life. And it also ended up being a catalyst to becoming life-changing for me, to where I have to look back and say, gosh, in a way, it was a good thing. Because I would never be talking to all of you.
Right. Thank you so much, Mark. Well, I think it would be appropriate to start off with, we had a comment rather than just a question. And maybe what I'll do is I had the girls write out a question or two on index cards. And if you're comfortable just saying it yourself, then you're welcome to. Mark seems pretty friendly. And if you'd rather not, I'm happy to read it for you. Okay, so I'll pass you out the index card of the question that you wrote, and just let me know if you're feeling shy. Okay? So, Lauren, why don't you start with your comment?
I'm glad you're not homeless anymore.
Wow. Thank you. That just made my month. Well, I got to say year, because month is only 2 days in, right? 2 or 3 days. Thank you so much.
Michael Matthew? It's a little loud. Thank you.
How or what did you eat?
How or what did I eat when I was homeless?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's a really good question. Because every day, I'm glad I showed you a picture of me and Dog, because I would go down and I would beg for money, panhandle, to get as much money as I could to buy iguanas are vegetarians, and so lettuce or cilantro or whatever. And for me, a slice of pizza or something. Um, there's a lot of soup kitchens and places that feed, but there's a very serious lack of nutrition. And it's people are doing good. Churches and synagogues and temples are doing the best they can, but there's a lot of need so often, and food banks too. So there's a lot of starchy food. There's not a lot of healthy food. So, for example, the Hard Rock Cafe in Los Angeles every night would take their leftovers, and then they would park a truck on Santa Monica Boulevard, and you would be eating leftovers, which was great. But if you went to a soup kitchen or whatever, you're probably going to get some kind of pasta or spaghetti or something, because you feed a lot of people, and it's the same with food banks, and they don't. Well, vegetables and fresh fruit often don't get donated, but logistically also there's a problem with storage and different things. So to directly answer your question, what I think is the key there is real homelessness is absence of choice. Rarely you get to choose what you get to eat. Usually it's given to you. You're in a line, in a meal line, or you're at a soup kitchen, or if you're at a food bank, you're going to get a bag of food, but you're not really necessarily going to get what you want, or maybe even what you need. I was in Los Angeles 3 weeks ago for a television shoot, a documentary on homelessness. And the guy said that every week they get like a bag of instant mashed potatoes and 2 cans of vegetables from the local, ministry. And that's what they get every week is 2 cans of vegetables and, a bag of instant mashed potatoes. And that's kind of yucky, don't you think?
Yeah, that doesn't.
Good question.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answered.
Zoe,
Zoe,
your questions?
My question is, how do you stay warm in the winter?
Ooh, that's a great question. Now, are you guys are in New York, right? You're New York State. So it gets cold where you are. I see some cold jackets.
Mm-hmm.
So, homelessness is different, obviously, in Alaska than it is in Florida. Now, what I mean is how people live. People, like I was just in Winnipeg, Canada, where it's really cold. Homeless people that are sleeping outside in cold weather climates, they layer. You know what that is? Where you wear like a couple of shirts and a couple of sweaters and as many jackets as you can. They try to use little propane heaters. They do whatever they can. Obviously, in warmer climates like Los Angeles, or even if you get up north of San Jose, you don't have the extreme weather to have to worry about cold. The interesting thing is when the people that live in Alaska, or the people that are living in Seattle, or the people that are living in Boston, or even New York, are very much used to living in cold weather. So they're prepared for it. Where there often is a challenge is when there's a cold snap that goes down the United States, and people that, like in San Jose, there was some deaths, and then in even East Coast, when that cold snap goes down and people are not prepared for cold weather, then there's a serious crisis. Mm-hmm. Very good question. I want to tag off that is there's also an issue when you're talking about homelessness in extreme heat, when you're talking about Dallas or Arizona, or, Phoenix is an area, New Mexico, where the weather in the summertime can get up to 120 degrees. So very similar in cities that have cold weather. Take Philadelphia, for example. They have what's called a cold code blue. When the weather gets below a certain temperature, they open up a lot of emergency facilities to bring people in. And in hot climates like Phoenix, they open up cooling centers where people can come in and be around air conditioning and get water so they don't get dehydrated. Great question.
Great. Thank you. So I think Cece was going to go next.
How do you stay alive when you're sick?
Cece, can you speak nice and clear with a strong voice?
How do you stay alive when you're sick?
Wow, that is a really, really amazing question. Interesting enough for me, in a way, it changed my life because at one point I was living in a park in Los Angeles, and I really thought I was going to make it. I thought, oh my gosh, you know, I had a pager. I don't know if you guys even know what a pager is. Before cell phones, there was these things that I don't even want to probably go there, but it's kind of like smoke signals today, you know. I thought I was going to be able to get a job and get out of the park, but I got sick. And when I got sick, it really humbled me, and I crawled back into a shelter. It wasn't the greatest shelter, but that was my path into going into a better shelter and eventually 22 years of sobriety and no longer being homeless. It is a very serious issue because there's wonderful organizations like Healthcare for the Homeless, which is a national organization. But homeless people often become vulnerable, and vulnerable means they're very, very sick. They're closest to death, and they need extreme help. What's interesting about this is that that's where homeless people, when people are on the street, access services like healthcare and emergency rooms at very high rates that increases taxpayer money. So there's really that was a really great, all your questions are so amazing. That was a really great question. There's no easy answer to that. What I know, so often we look at people that are panhandling or begging for money as something that's wrong, and it is wrong, but something that I guess you would say we look at them as being less than. But there's things only money can buy, and one is cough syrup. One is, you know, stuff for colds and different things that you don't, public support like food stamps doesn't help. So healthcare and being sick is a very serious issue. Great question.
Okay. G, I think you had a question. Yeah. Two questions. One of them I think he answered, right? How do you stay warm?
No.
Oh, okay. Why don't you ask the one that's most important to you right now, and then if we have time, we'll come back.
How did you clean yourself when you were homeless?
How did I what?
How did you clean yourself when you were homeless?
That is, again, a very good question. Hygiene or cleaning yourself is tough. I don't know. Did you guys see the sock video?
Yeah, some of us watched it. I don't know if the girls did.
Okay, that talks a little bit about it because often you go into a McDonald's bathroom. Now, 22 years ago, it was a little easier to sneak into a fast food bathroom and wash your hair in a sink. These days, it's a little harder. But showers and being able to wash is this very serious issue. But you also, because you're carrying all the clothes you have in a backpack or a bag, often you can change, but you have to put on dirty clothes, and that's like really yucky, like super yucky. But and that's what one of the gentlemen talks about in the sock video, is that he washes his feet, but he only has dirty socks to put back on, and that's just really yucky. But there's some, like for instance, in Los Angeles, there are mobile showers, people that take showers, nonprofits or groups that have showers on a trailer that take them around. Throughout the country, there's different day centers that allow people to come in and take a shower. There's churches and temples and synagogues and faith-based groups of all different denominations around the country that also allow homeless people to come in and clean up. But mostly you find some kind of a public washroom, maybe at a mall, maybe you befriended a Burger King manager or a Starbucks manager and they allow you, but usually it's in some kind of public bathroom where you just try to wash up the best you can.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Ruby, why don't you go next?
Okay. What did you own that was most important to you?
Wow, great question. So I guess I should have explained what a pager was.
You have to.
So I'm gonna say today, I think if I was homeless today, and I think to people on the streets, I think a phone. So when I was homeless, we didn't have phones. We didn't have mobile phones, but I think, and this is, there's a big word people use now. It's called digital inclusion, where connecting people that are marginalized or in poverty or homeless to the internet, and now has this word called digital inclusions. But, everything's on the internet. How do you better your life if you can't call a doctor or look up a map or find some kind of services? So I think right now it would be a phone. Back then it was a pager, which was kind of like a phone. People would call you and buzz, and then you call them back when you found a quarter. There was probably my backpack because I was able to carry things. If I didn't have a backpack, I don't know how I would get a new one, and it would really put a serious strain on my survival.
Sure.
Unbelievable questions.
Yeah. All right. Bella, I think you had the next question.
How was the experience for dogs?
I didn't hear the last part.
How was the experience for dogs?
Oh, for the iguana. Oh my gosh, I wish I could ask them.
Well, I think when you had thought of the question, it was actually about a dog.
Dogs.
Yeah, about the dog. So,
Right.
well, so, God, you guys, great questions. You're going to have to please send me a copy of this video so that I can, I'm trying to build some online posts to answer some of this stuff.
Great.
Really great. Pets and homelessness is what I think you're asking about. And I have seen dogs and rats and cats and iguanas, and I was noticing in a video, that the sock video, I didn't even notice it until I was watching it the other night, where one of the homeless people had a chicken on his shoulder. And I must have, it was a clip from years ago in San Francisco, and I'm sure I noticed it then, but I just noticed it now. So often, just like you guys have pets and they mean the world to you, well, if you're homeless, so often the world has pushed you aside. And you know how pets give you unconditional love? Your dogs and your cats, they just love you. Well, that helps homeless people get through the day. And I got to tell you that I have never, ever, ever seen a homeless person put themselves before their pet. And what I mean is they're always taking care of their pet before them. And even with me, like when I was trying to get food, I would make sure my iguana had food before I had food. I've never, ever seen a pet mistreated. In fact, I've seen them just exceptionally loved. Ideally, both the homeless person and the homeless pet should be no longer homeless and in a house with a big backyard and a dog house and, you know, bones to chew on. But on the streets, that's a really good question. I don't know, because I keep on thinking about my pet, iguana, because I had dog for years before I was homeless, and he was treated like a king. And once we were homeless, there's probably a couple of situations looking back that weren't great for him, but he was a iguana, not a dog. And overall, it ended up really good. I gave him away to somebody that has like a giant lizard zoo. So he's hanging out with a bunch of other lizards, enjoying the sun and eating lettuce. So great questions.
All right. I think, so Brooke, you have a question. I think that'll be our last one.
I think so.
Yeah.
Where did you get your water?
Wow, another great question. So mostly again from public restrooms. I don't think that has changed. There's no, so if you go to a park, there's usually a drinking fountain someplace, and you would fill up a container. For me, it was, you know, empty water bottles. I mean, now everybody has, I have one over in my kitchen, you know, a nice thing like you would take to work out or different things. And I'm sure people have different storage containers, but normally any public restroom where you could, you know, put a container underneath the faucet and fill it up and put a top on it and put it in your backpack. Or you would stay in an area where there was a drinking fountain or some kind of a outdoor spigot where you could get water quickly. Because food, water, and healthcare and pets, you guys have got it all covered. Yeah. Warm, wet, you know, jackets. You guys got all the survival questions. You guys must have planned this.
They've got a lot of socks collected too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. We're going to, I don't know if Lisa told you, but we did this pretty big drive, and today we're going to be sorting them all into care packages and writing notes of friendship and well wishes. And I know the socks, we took heed of your sock video. So we're going to have tons of extra socks well beyond our care packages.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. So
go ahead.
I guess I have my, just the really briefly, just to sort of end us off and inspire us for the note writing that we're going to do. What do you think somebody who's homeless would like to hear from someone? Like if they were to receive a card around this time of year, what type of wish or sentiment would make them happy?
Wow, another amazing question. And I will end that with a little story. So I used to get my socks from bowling alleys. So in Los Angeles and California, it's nice and sunny most of the year, and people wear a lot of flip-flops. So bowling alleys can't rent you shoes unless you have socks, so they would have these free socks. So a friend of mine connected me to some bowling alley, and I would go and I would get bags, like, you know, the big black hefty garbage bag. I would pick up 10 bags of them and then get them washed and I would hand them out. So I met a school teacher who said, can we take those socks and can we write notes on them for you to hand out to homeless people? So in the back of my mind, I said, okay, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how this is going to really affect a homeless person, but I know by writing out the notes that it will affect you guys in the classroom and it'll be a good experience for the kids. So she gave me back this bag full of socks, all with handwritten notes on it. And very cynical, meaning I didn't believe that, you know, this had huge value to a homeless person. I grabbed the pair of socks and opened up the note. I have it someplace. If I had known, I would have had the photo for you. And the note, oh my gosh, it melted my heart. And I don't care what homeless person would have opened this note, it would have melted their heart too. So I think the point that I'm trying to make really is just speak from your heart, write what's in your heart. And if you're authentic and it will transmit to the person that's reading it. This 10th grader that wrote this note on this sock, gosh, I'm going to have to go look up the photo now. Really had no training, no knowledge of homelessness. She just wrote, or he just wrote an encouraging note from their heart. And that was it was wonderful and gorgeous. And since then I've tried to do several campaigns to replicate that, and I've never been able to. So really, really amazing that you guys are doing that. That's really amazing. You don't know your actions, how they're going to affect somebody in a positive way. And you could very well change somebody's life.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mark. There's no way this project could have been anywhere near as meaningful if we didn't have this conversation with you.
Oh, this is just an amazing experience for me, and I'm grateful to meet all you.
You want to get a picture in front of the thing? With the
Oh,
friends with
sure.
Like a group picture?
Come. It's
They're
like
gonna
we're hanging
gather
out.
around the screen where you are, and you girls actually face me.
It's like we're
And he'll
hanging
be
out
in the
with
picture
Mark.
with us, okay?
You want to sit?
Have a seat.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to send me this.
I will. All right. So, okay. Let's see. Okay. And smile. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, thank you, Mark.
Thank
Oh,
you.
you're all welcome. It was a enjoyable moment getting to spend some
Before you
time.
go over there, come and say goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Los Angeles.
Enjoy your life in Los Angeles.
Excellent.